everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Awkwardness. My name is Chris. This is my beautiful wife and co-host,
Lily!
Yeah. So today on the show, we have a gentleman by the name of Stephen Baker, who you might know better as King Leon.
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 I almost said Leon for a second. That's not good. But yeah.
No, King Leon, formerly the Sixth, but now goes by the Blackblade, a very mysterious new incarnation.
The Blackblade?
The Blackblade.
Oh, okay. I see.
But Stephen Baker will be joining us today to, you know what? We'll just get to it, and he'll tell you what he's joining us here today for.
Yeah, good.
Let me let him know that we're gonna put him in.
Just open the chat. Oh Lord.
Okay, we are recording.
Yeah.
Hey man, oh my god, there's a throne and everything.
Yeah, baby.
What? I don't see anybody yet.
You don't see him yet?
No, I just see you and that's it.
1 second.
Let's see. You sure?
Yeah, I just see you and me and that's it. Do you see him?
Yeah.
No, I don't see anybody.
Oh, man.
Okay, yes, I do.
I was about to say,
I had to swipe back and say hello.
I was gonna say you missed out on the shock factor of like popping up on the screen with the throne behind him.
Wow, that's very fancy.
Yeah, it was expensive. It better be fancy.
Weren't you talking about getting rid of it at one point?
Yeah, but you know what? I figured I'd just bring it home, and it was like one of those things where I was like, even if I get use out of it in the wrestling world, it's still pretty cool to have. So I'm just.
Oh yeah, that's awesome to have. That's such a cool thing.
If not just only for this moment, it's perfect.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
So yeah, man, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, man. I'm pretty excited to be on. I love doing these things, especially with everything going on. This is a really good, positive energy kind of thing,
Yeah, extremely. That's what we're about.
When we started it, I didn't realize that we were starting it right for Mental Health Awareness Month, So it was like just a total coincidence, and it's perfect timing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how are you feeling, man? What are you doing to keep yourself sane and active during this?
I mean, honestly, man, I'm just trying to. For the first month or so, I was eating like crap. So I think everyone can vouch that this is kind of how it goes for a good amount of people. That was, it's all started up. And I was.
Yeah, I think Chris and I are still eating like crap, but that's just us.
I was putting on some weight, and then I was like, I can't do this. So for the last almost month now, I've been eating pretty clean. I've dropped like 20 pounds close to in the last month.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Really active. I've just been trying
hiking a lot.
Yeah, a lot of hiking. Me and the girlfriend have been going out a lot and just kind of finding any new trails we can go to. I took some weights from XWA, and like Mike let me borrow those, so I've been using those here, things like that. But just trying to keep myself occupied, honestly.
Yeah. And also, I know you're the type of person that you have big plans for when wrestling is back in full swing. So you have to make sure that you're mentally and physically ready for those plans, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, the last 2 months, I think, before this all started, when wrestling was still going on and everyone was doing their thing, I actually was out of action because I was having some severe vertigo bouts while I was wrestling, and it was like lasting for a good amount of time after. It was starting to mess with me, and I think it was just I think my body needed a break because I've taken a bump or two since. Like I've gotten the chance to get into a ring a little bit, and it's definitely given me enough. It showed me that I could still do it, so like that was a big plus. I was like, thank God, because wrestling is pretty much my savior at this point. So
yeah.
But your vertigo, would you faint and everything, or you just get really dizzy?
I got really dizzy. It was like hard to for instance, like looking up was so difficult, like because the world just starts spinning. I'd have to kind of like be steady like this to even be remotely okay. For about an hour it would last, and it was just terrible.
Oh my, that's a long time. Jesus, crazy.
Yeah, and I thought it was the first time it happened. I was actually at Test of Strength, Slick Wagner Brown's place.
Yep.
And I was in the main event with him, Evie De La Rosa and Dan DeMann. We did like a little tag match. It was a good match. It was only like 15 minutes. It wasn't a long match. And then by the time it was over, everything was spinning. And
Wow.
I thought maybe I was dehydrated or I'd blow myself up too much or just something like that. And I just chopped it up to that. But then about a month later, I had another match, and it was only about a 5-minute match. It was just an easy match to get this other kid over and everything, and put over his new character, and then pretty much call it a day. And it happened again, and I'm like, that's not okay. And I wasn't up, I wasn't hurting, but it was just a strange thing to happen.
But nothing since.
Yeah, it didn't make sense at the time, but now I'm thinking I was looking into it, and it could have just been something got rocked the wrong way one day and just never got put back into place because I needed to rest, you know.
Right. So let's backtrack a little bit. When did wrestling start for you, as far even just as a fan? When did you catch the bug?
Yeah, first explain how you came into wrestling as a fan and like what age and stuff, because it's cool to hear when you guys start liking wrestling from like a really young age. So if you want to tell us about that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. I was young, but I was definitely not. I was still coherent enough to remember. Me and my friend Derek, he was my best friend through my childhood. He was a big wrestling fan, and him and his dad used to go to shows all the time. And I grew up in a kind of a poor household, so to speak, and they didn't really have the means to like bring me. So his dad would bring me with them to these shows all the time. And I just caught the bug that way. I loved wrestling. And then WCW was actually the one that kept me going, as weird as that sounds.
No.
I don't know if you guys remember the Misfits in action at all. They were just a really, really crude group. It wasn't anything crazy. But like,
what was it, the Misfits?
Misfits in action, MIA. It was
WCW. That sounds really familiar, yeah.
They had guys like Lash LaRue. They had the Raging Cajun. They had DeMott, Bill DeMott was his name.
Were they like they had like the army?
Yes,
that's the gimmick, and like wasn't Booker T in that?
Yeah, Booker T was in it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super weird, but like one of those things that just made me stick around. And like everyone's like, really, those guys? I'm like, yeah, man, that's just what do you. So.
Well, that makes perfect sense because you're like a tremendous character guy. So like,
I try, man.
Maybe it had an influence on you early.
There's definitely a chance. A lot of my favorite wrestlers of all time have pretty much all been characters, minus like maybe 1 or 2 people just out of their sheer work rate. But like all in all, I'd have to say characters have always been the people that I've gravitated towards, like the Undertaker, or even
she's the same way. Like she'll say,
"Who, me?"
Yeah, like you were just saying the other day, like watching WWE is so different for you than trying to watch like some indie stuff that I watch because you know those characters so well. So it's harder for you to start to like dig yourself into.
I don't know if it's harder for me. I think it's not even just because of the characters. It's just because I know the people also so well. But just because you've been watching it for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help when you personally obviously know the people, and like even in our like in the line of wrestling, like I'm sure we've all met our fair share of the biggers or the superstars and stuff like that. And like it's cool to get to know certain people in that bracket as people themselves, not just their characters, because a lot of those people show that like they say never meet your heroes, but a lot of those guys are legitimately good people most of the time. So it's really cool when you actually see that. Like, so there's a good reason why I'm glad I like you or liked you as much as I have in my life, or a reason that I like them.
Or like even just having one positive experience with somebody and then seeing them succeed. Like for me, Drew McIntyre was on a Battle Club show like very early on.
Oh wow!
I forget. I don't think it was their first show. I forget. Anyway, he worked the main event. It was he was Galloway at the time. So he was working Anthony Bowens in a Battle Club main event. And everyone that met him that day was like, man, nicest guy ever. Like
that's awesome.
He didn't brush anybody off. He spoke to everybody. And then now to see him where he is, it's like it's cool, because he's one of the good ones.
That's amazing. I feel the same way about guys like freaking like Austin Theory has been in the locker room with me plenty of times. I love that guy. He's a nice dude. I mean, he's one of those guys that you can literally just go up to. He'll give you all the advice in the world if he has it. He'll talk to you about anything that he can. He's just a legit nice dude. So
that's awesome. Yeah. We need more of those, succeeding at that level or at any level really, because you don't have to be there to be succeeding at wrestling.
Absolutely. Like Chris, Mr. Grimm, you saw like he's doing his.
Oh yeah.
Which is awesome. Like I mean, I've had quite a few matches with him now. Like we've torn the damn house down together in certain places with like 5 or 6 people. It's not a great crowd, but we had great matches. And like this guy, like he slept on my couch. The dude's been cool with me, and like it's cool to see him succeed and get his opportunities, regardless.
Especially being like for me, like one of the coolest things with Grim is like him being a family man and how much he loves his kids. And I know you have a daughter. Only the one daughter?
I have one daughter. Yeah.
How old is she now?
She's 9. She's going to be 10 in November. Yeah, it's one of those ages, man. Actually, so I want to.
Is she like one of those preteens with attitude already, or not yet?
She might as well be a teenager, the way that she is. So, but in all fairness, she takes a lot of personality traits from me. I'm a stubborn man when I need to be. In all honesty, and she's taken some of the good, some of the bad. But I mean, that's just part of parenting. But one thing, you know what? This is actually kind of off topic, but still kind of funny because we're talking about my daughter. I got a call from her teacher today, and I don't even care that I'm putting this out here because she'll never hear this. But I got a call from her teacher, and her teacher's like, "Do you have a moment to talk?" Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." So she's like, "I did a questionnaire with the children, and she answered something a little alarming on one of her questions." And I'm like, "Oh no!" So like, basically, they're like, she's like, "What's something you want to tell me that you've never told anyone before?" And my daughter, and this is the funniest thing, I think it's the coolest thing, but I got to talk to her somehow about it. She's like, "Well, I'm a lesbian, and I tell all my friends that I have boy crushes, and they're not real."
No.
Which is it's not a bad thing. I'm really
excited.
I'm
saying like, oh no, like yeah. She tells her friends that she likes boys because she can't be completely open to them.
That's something we're going to talk about. She usually has a pretty good. Me and her have a really good communication line, so I think that
you should, and you should just be like, it's okay to be what you are. It's fine. That's beautiful.
So you knew that already, obviously.
Did you?
No, I didn't know that. That's why I'm sorry. It's fresh to my mind that we're talking about my kids. So I know it's a weird place to talk about it, but like,
no, it's not. I mean, if our kid ever came out to his teacher instead of coming out to us, I think it'd be kind of sad, honestly, if he did that. But
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand why she didn't want to talk to me or her grandparents first, because I mean, she has a lot of her teachers really, really good with her, and like she obviously has a comfort of sorts. But I mean, at the same time, I feel like maybe she thinks that she doesn't want the people who care about her to judge her, and I'm sure she thinks her friends will. Because she's still at that age where, though she's young enough, it could just be days, but it also could be something. So I think she's just kind of, taking it for what it is.
I mean, if she knows enough to be like, the way she said it, the way you just explained it, sounds like she probably already knows. Like, she's probably already definite about it.
Well, that's exactly how she put it. And I'm like, wow. So she like read it verbatim to me. I'm like, well, this is a call I never expected to get. I'll leave it at that. But yeah. So.
I mean, also like, just put it out there that I don't know how the hell you're going to do it. I have no advice for that just because that's a very difficult situation. But just make her understand that you're by her side and that you accept her no matter what. That you always love her, of course.
Oh, absolutely. I don't even think it's a difficult situation. I actually think it's more. I think it's more funny than difficult. Is honest, just because it's like, I mean, I think she has this thing in her mind because I'm sure she, all these kids are on YouTube and this and that, so they probably think they're going to get judged or disowned or this or that. But like, when I talk to her, she's like, "Oh, well, then this is much better than I'm probably expecting it to be."
Yeah, that's true. I know. I can imagine, imagine if it was a situation that she, you would have gotten the phone call and you were the type of person that did not accept that. Oh,
I'll be honest with you. Like, I mean, I don't understand how that's even possible nowadays.
No, I totally agree with you. That's terrible.
But
if you're freaking kid, for goodness sake, it shouldn't matter.
Nope, not at all. I agree completely. Anyway, But yeah, so so I have a 9-year-old. She's a lot. She is sassy as hell. She loves to go to wrestling with me. She goes every Thursday night when XWA is around. So like she loves that. She has a little friend group there. But it's awesome. It's really cool. She's coming to some trainings with me, and she's like, "Can you teach me stuff?" And I've taught her how to lock up.
That's awesome, man. That must be like the first time that she asked you that. You must have been like little misty eyes.
You have no idea. I was on cloud 9 for a couple of days. Like I was like, it's so cool because obviously Strong Style, Frankie and Strong Style, he was still there at the time, and she saw this cool little pink hat, the Strong Style hat. She's like, "Oh my God, I want that." I'm like, "Maybe some other time, we'll take care of it," because I didn't have any cash on me to set a card. And Frankie comes up, just gave it to her, and I'm like, "That's so cool." And that was just something that stuck with her, I'm sure. You know what I mean? So after that, she wore it to every show for like 2 months. And like, it was just, I don't know. It's cool to see like she was getting invested and like, she's like, "Oh, I want an 8x10 of that guy," or "I want an 8x10 of that guy." I'm like, that's
really cool.
So, yeah, man.
That's a future wrestler right there. You have a future wrestler in the making.
For kids, it's like that one moment, you know, like you said, it's like that one thing. Him giving her the hat, it's enough to be like, wow, like I'm part of this world now, and
Exactly.
yeah, it's really cool. He's awake.
It's all good.
Yeah. If he wakes up more, then just pick him up and stuff him, okay?
Yeah, he's just like chilling there right now. So.
Okay.
But,
I have a question for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go.
About the anxiety stuff. Like,
Yes.
when was the first time you experienced anxiety? Or maybe not when, like an experience or whatever, however you want to talk about it. Just how anxiety in general.
So I was a kid, like a young kid, like early. Oh my God, I was not that old. I was probably like, again 6-7-year-old range, and
Really, that young?
yeah, I've had anxiety my whole life, honestly. So I pretty much I grew up in a rough house. Luckily, things have changed. You know, my parents have kind of grown up a little bit, but it was a rough house. Full transparency, like it was they were doing drugs and stuff like that. It was hard as a kid, and me and my brother were there just kind of living through it. But I remember one day I was literally making a grilled cheese, and I remember the day to this day because it was just like one of the scariest days as a young kid, and obviously traumatized me enough to keep anxiety with me. But I was making a grilled cheese, and then just felt like my whole world just like flushed over me, and like that was like everything was just wrong. And just
what happened when you were making the grilled cheese? What happened?
Oh, nothing happened. It was just an immediate nothing happened. It was just a wave that came over me, and it just
that
was
terrible.
Those are how my anxiety attacks have always been. It's never just something that triggers it. It's always just been a general anxiety, and that's really rough. But I mean, I've learned to control it over the years, obviously. But when that happened, I pretty much yelled for my parents, and I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. And they're like, they thought obviously.
Oh, is it like one of those anxiety attacks that like you feel like you can't breathe and it's rapid heart rate and all that stuff?
Very physical for my anxiety attacks. Like my extremities get tingly, my chest gets tight, my brain just goes to fog. Like it's just not everything just goes away, and like I become a whole different person for that time being until it's gone. Like very sensitive to like light and sound. I have to like cover my eyes. Like it's just crazy. Like it's a hypersensitive thing. But yeah, that was the youngest I could think of. But I mean, for my whole life, I've dealt with anxiety and panic attacks and things like that. And it's just, I don't know if it's my personality that does it, because I do think a lot. My brain's always moving. But like
that's one of the downsides of being an overthinker is anxiety.
Yes. But I mean,
does wrestling help, or have you found that you've been in situations where wrestling kind of like made it worse?
95% of the time, wrestling is a huge help. The other 5% is like the off day where I walk in and I'm already feeling anxious before I even get there, and then it just kind of sticks with you until it goes away. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's hard to control those things. I mean, like I said, I've gotten to a point starting to get there, and like as the years go by, you kind of have to, otherwise it's not gonna be all right. But for the most part, wrestling helps my anxiety. It's one of those things where like I love being in front of a crowd. It's one of those. It doesn't make me anxious at all. It actually calms me down. It brings me to another place. And,
right, you're a musician also, right?
I am. Yeah, I play guitar. I sing. I play piano. All that fun stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, piano so, but like guitar, I've been playing for about 15, 16 years, and I've been singing for over 10. But I was actually in bands before I did wrestling, so I've always been part of something that someone's watching,
Right.
So it's never really, but that's always when I'm the most comfortable, 100%.
Yeah, you could tell definitely. Like
yeah, and it's crazy to me how, I mean, we've interviewed 3 people already, and everybody that we interview you're like the third person, obviously, and everybody that we interview it's not, I mean, I know anxiety attacks don't happen, or anxiety doesn't happen all the time, but right. Speaking to you guys, like, you would never even think that, you look like a person that never would suffer from anxiety, and just hearing that you're a musician and hearing that you're a wrestler, it's like, no, but then I obviously believe that you do, but it's mind-blowing to me. That's, yeah.
No, I can understand that. I mean, from the outside looking in, even to my friends, I'm one of the most social people in my friends group at all times. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it comes down to like, for instance, this is a weird anxiety thing that actually, there's one trigger that I know of that really messes with me. If I'm not the center of attention during something that people are being looked at, like a band or something like that, I get anxiety. I get crowd anxiety.
Interesting.
Weird thing. But like, I can be, if I'm in the, if there could be thousands of people looking at just me, and I'm like, we're good. But like, if you're paying attention, it's crazy. I've never understood.
I had that sort of anxiety. Just being looked at by like 3 people freaks me out.
Yeah.
Fair. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at with anxiety. It's rough, but like I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to get it. And I mean, it's been, hey, I always say that and something new will pop up, but like I have a decent hold on it for the most part, where if I know something's coming, I know how to kind of calm myself down quick enough now. I can bring myself to a point, at least, even if there's a little bit of anxiety, I can bring it to an extent where it's like, okay.
What do you do? Do you breathe or something? What do you do to calm yourself down?
Most of the time, believe it or not, like if I'm out and about, I'll breathe or I'll just close my eyes for a minute, do what I got to do, just go to hit the bathroom, splash some water on my face, and just kind of like look myself in the mirror. And I actually will talk to myself in the mirror sometimes to kind of like.
No, that's extremely helpful to do. Honestly, I've done it too. But I've done it to myself too, and it really does help.
Yeah, I never would have thought it did until I finally ingrained it in my head. I was pretty much tell myself, I'm like, you don't have anxiety. You're wrong. Even though like I know I do, but like, oh, okay, thanks, buddy. And I'd walk, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. It's like
with
me, it wouldn't be so much.
Reflection talks back to you.
No, that's when you, no, that's like a whole nother mental illness. Like
I know.
No, with me, I wouldn't so much say that I don't have anxiety. I would just be like, you can get through this. You got this. Just write it, and then it'll go away. Because my thing, it was like inevitable, but yeah.
No, I completely understand. I mean, I'm sure, like, you know, everyone has their own experiences, especially with it. And, you know, it's one of those things, it's like you just got to do what makes it work for you. Like, a lot of people will do the whole breathing exercise. Sometimes me thinking about breathing too much gives me more anxiety.
That makes sense, too. Yeah.
You got to, like, just like everyone else, you got to find your niche and whatever, and you got to do the right thing. So,
whatever works.
It's super helpful to be surrounded by people that are, that you know for a fact are understanding about that sort of thing. You know, when people create like an environment that's welcoming and kind of like, it's just, you know, when you have good people around you, it's helpful, obviously.
I was gonna ask you that too. When you have your wrestling matches and stuff like that, do the people, I mean, obviously you said when you're in the center of attention, like that makes you feel better, but like also when you're not wrestling and you're just like walking around saying hi to everybody, does that also make you feel better because everybody's like so understanding?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Most of the time, my anxiety will not happen in locker rooms because, again, it depends on the locker room, though, because you got, as Chris knows, I'm sure you know as well, you get to a certain point where certain locker rooms are great and some of them are just, they're toxic environments, you know, like it's like anything, though. You know, it's like anything in the world. The nothing's going to be top notch. And like, for instance, Wrestle Party, Live Prov Wrestling, one of the best locker rooms I've ever been a part of in my life because they're just all good people. They're all legitimate.
Live Prov is that Sully?
Sully. Yeah.
Okay, Sully, they're like amazing. I love them so much.
It's one of my favorite locker rooms to be in.
So
we went to one show as a fan and we did the one Wrestlers Lab collab show.
Yep.
And it's just like both experiences were amazing. You know, like it's just
absolutely, man. Sully is a class act amongst himself, and that guy doesn't get enough credit for anything the man does, but he doesn't look for it. You know, like that's the thing. He's one of those guys though that definitely deserves it. And I hope in time we'll be seen as more. You know what I'm saying? Because
I think it will, because I mean, it has. I mean, I feel like the universe is just gonna work on his side and in his favor.
It absolutely is. That guy, he sends out so much positive energy and like he's one of those people. Like, you know, a funny story actually, and it's just a little bit of a thing, but like a lot of people, I found out recently. Well, not a lot of people, but a couple promoters and stuff. I got labeled as, and I'm going to throw this out there, as hard to work with. And I asked why. Yeah, and I asked why, because I was curious. So I'm like, I feel like I'm always pretty respectful and understanding, and I try to talk everything out the right way. And I'm like, I don't try to be rude. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm talking to these guys, and I'm asking, I'm like, so what made me hard to work with? Because I found out a couple people who said it. So I confronted one of them who I was comfortable with. I'm like, I want to know. He's like, oh, well, you know, you ask a lot of questions. And I'm like,
how is that a bad thing, though?
Well, that's the thing. So I found out that was the main problem and the source of it all. And Sully, and regardless of all that stuff, that negative stuff, Sully is one of those people who takes all my questions and he accepts them and tells me, and we flip them and we come up with ideas and new things. Like, he's one of those guys that bounces off of me because I'm a talker, clearly. I'm a very, very social person. I mean, I have zero issue, and I'll say if I think something like, oh, that seems a little off. Could we try something like this? or this, and it's never meant as a disrespect.
No, but that doesn't sound like it would be a bad. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's not a bad thing. It's better to be like that than just completely quiet and a know-it-all, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, some promoters look at it as as disrespect, and I really don't mean for it to be. It's more of me just questioning, because, like, for instance, there was a match I asked with one of these guys who, luckily, we're good now. We've talked about it and, like, literally put everything under the wall. Not a big deal. But I asked him before a match, because I was supposed to go under, which wasn't a problem. I was supposed to get pinned by the champion, and that was more than fair. I was just like, hey, do you want, like, how do you want me to do this? Should I get rolled up? Should I do da-da-da-da-da? And I was questioning pretty much everything just because I wanted to get the story over correctly. And he took that as me trying to weasel out of it. And I'm like, no, I have zero problem. Yeah, it happens. But I mean, again, not even the point of what I'm trying to get at is Sully is my point here, is that guy is the most understanding, just nicest person I think I've ever worked with in my life. And, like, it goes to show you what a toxic environment and what a non-toxic environment really does for your anxiety and for your internal anything, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, of course. Even just to perform, I'm sure, like, being in a toxic environment, you don't want, not only probably do not want to perform, but it just is going to make you feel like shit the entire show. You don't, who wants to feel like shit the entire show? Nobody does. That's horrible.
I agree with that. There's only been like 2 locker rooms. I'm not going to name them because there's no need to, but 2 locker rooms I really felt unwelcome or just not okay at. Like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh, why am I here? I shouldn't even be working on these shows, because if these are the kind of people that are on these shows, I don't want to be part of them.
Right. The last thing that we.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. The last thing that we ever want to do is, like, have that environment where you have, like, guys off to the side where they're kind of like muttering to each other about everybody. Like, why? I just don't understand why people are like that in general. Like, it should be, obviously there should be a level of professionalism. I think that just, like, if you're a good person, that will be automatic, the professionalism aspect. But there's no reason why that can't blend with, like, friendliness and kind of like, like, you're there, you're doing something that you love with other people who presumably love this thing just as much as you do. So why should it not feel like light and fun and, sociable?
I think that most locker rooms should be a family. I think the most locker rooms should be a family. And, like,
I feel like all of them should be a family, but I don't really know anything, so I don't know.
That's correct of you. That is correct. And that's what it should be. But no, you know what? It's going to happen no matter what we do, no matter how many people stay positive. There's always going to be those negative people, but it comes down to knowing when to weed the ones out that are negative and figuring out the right way to make the best locker room you can. Like, right. That's one thing I'll commend you on, Chris, honestly, is you've gotten, like, the group of people that are awesome. Like, you got Dickie Moon, you got Grim.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of guys in there who are just really, really good dudes. And, like, found, like, Trevor Aon included. That man, he's awesome. I love that dude. Like, all those guys are just legitimately good people. So, like, get yourself a good one on that locker room for sure. And especially,
thank you. We appreciate it a lot.
Especially when I met them at that Wrestle Party show, that live prop party show, or live whatever it is. They were all of them were just super respectful, and we were all talkative. Everyone was intermingling and being legitimately good people. No one was off in a corner, all hanging out, and that's so cool.
Right. Yeah.
And then also, it's like I don't know. I've been to shows with Chris where people, unfortunately, are just, like, completely talking shit about each other, which is really terrible. And when you go to, like, a lab show or battle club shows, any of these shows, you don't ever hear anybody talk about each other. It's everyone just looking out for each other, making sure everyone's happy, everything's okay, and everybody just doing what they have to do, which is how it should be.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree.
And I think also there's something to be said for, like, I think there are some locker rooms that are toxic that still maintain a certain level of, like, prestige. And I'm not going to, like, say anything to kind of create controversy. But
don't.
It starts to become like everyone's goal is to work at this, like these particular promotions because they're bigger name promotions. But to me, like, if you are willing to, I don't know, accept or deal with the fact that these are toxic places and just, like, excuse it because of the name value, I just feel like people need to kind of draw a line, of where they are aiming for.
No, you're right. There should definitely be a line drawn with that. In fact, it's funny you say that because about a week ago, me and Paul were talking about it, where we think that once this whole quarantine is over and everyone gets back to, a semblance of normalcy, whatever it may be, I think that there's going to be a changing of guards with in a lot of places. I think that a lot of places are going to, once, you know, because you're right, the reputation will uphold. Like, you have a lot of places, again, won't name names as well for my sheer fact, but a lot of places who are reputable and have these great names behind them do have a very toxic backstage. And it comes down to, why would you want to almost, not to say sell out, but close to sell out just to be part of a brand that isn't even making you happy? You know, like, that's the thing. Find other ways. Like, that's at the end of the day.
And at the end of the day, they're not going to take care of you in the way that, in a way that it means something. You know what I mean? Like, in like, on a personal level, like on a human being level, they're not looking out for you in that way. You know, it's
I
like.
have a question.
Go ahead.
Are these people just working in these places because of money, or why? Oh, you said because of the name, right? Because of, like, it'll just make them more popular.
Yeah, more than name, I'd like to say. More than name.
Okay.
Money. It takes a while for money to be a factor, unfortunately. So that's typically not where it's at. It's just, you know, once your name is associated with a certain logo, or you're uploaded onto their YouTube or their website or whatever, it potentially puts you in front of eyes that you're.
No, I know. I get it. I can think of a place already that is like that. That is not the greatest. So yeah.
Actually, what I'm gonna do, if you can think of any other question, babe, because what it's telling me is we have like 3 minutes remaining, because we have to update our thing to like a pro account or something like that.
What? That's nonsense.
So I'm gonna see what
that. I see it too.
Oh, it says it on the screen.
Yeah, it says remaining time 250.
You must have been like, what the hell?
That's
like,
nonsense. Oh.
Yeah, let me try to figure that out real quick.
Well, I mean, this is a really silly question, but I mean, actually, like, again, I have 2 questions, but I guess I'll just narrow it down to the one. Sure. Do you have any cool Netflix shows that you've been watching in this quarantine?
Oh man, so actually, I found one show that I was told about, and man, it's not on Netflix. It's on Hulu, but it's an FX show. What We Do in the Shadows. That show is so funny, and I guarantee, you know, I think it might be close to up your alley, because I know what you guys enjoy in that sense. Watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's about vampire. It's a documentary about vampires, but it's a comedy. It's cool. Hilarious. I'm telling you, just give it a chance. Even the first episode, the very first scene made me say, I have to watch this whole show. And that's
it's called what? Say the name of it again.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Okay, perfect. Yes, and we have Hulu, which we'll definitely check it out, because I just finished one of my favorite shows, so we're definitely looking for something else to watch right now. I'm very much into animation, so Avatar: The Last Airbender is what I just finished.
Awesome.
Yeah?
No, I'm a giant child too. Like, me and Chris have talked about this, but like, I know you guys are big fans of like Steven Universe. I love Steven Universe.
Oh, yes, it's amazing.
I have my Adventure Time tattoo on my leg.
HBO Max is coming out the new Adventure Time, so if you are really, you should get like yes. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it's about in June or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something about that about a week ago or whatever. It was somewhere like that. But yeah, Avatar was awesome. Legend of Korra was good. Obviously not as good as Avatar.
It was good. I wasn't crazy about it, but it was like the first couple of seasons were very good. Yeah.
For sure. My favorite thing I'm going to actually say about Avatar, for the people who like Avatar out there who are listening, or for even you, my favorite thing was the cabbage guy, because obviously everyone, you know, my cabbage is my cabbage.
The cabbages all the time. Poor guy.
That when Legend of Korra came out, he had Cabbage Corp. I thought was the funniest thing.
I'm sad. Sadly enough, I don't remember that. I feel like the worst fit ever right now.
No, it's all right. I just thought it was a really, really cool thing for them to nod at the cabbage guy. He has his literally.
Oh, he was such a big part of it.
Cabbage corp. Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I love the guitar.
Babe, did you find what's wrong with it? I can't hear you because you have your thing off. Take your thing off. Put your thing back on. Your little microphone. He has it off because the baby's screaming like crazy over there. I hear him.
I'm trying to sign in right now, so and I'm down to the wire here. I feel like I'm in like all right, so yeah, sorry about that.
You could hear it even more now. Like
I know, I was raising it instead of lowering it by accident. I don't even know where we left off. We were talking about all kinds of different cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar.
I think you were talking about the cabbage guy,
Yeah, but
right?
ask me a question.
Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I was just talking about. I'm sorry, I was just talking about the how the cabbage guy opens a cabbage corp with Legend of Korra.
Yes.
I thought it was a lot.
Do you know if that was in season 1 of 4?
It happened a lot. It happened like they kept bringing up cabbage corp as things went on. So like they kept going with that. Yeah. So it was
So funny. I can't.
all right. So here's my final question to you.
Yep.
Success in wrestling. What does that look like for you? Because it's different for everybody. What's your goal?
Success is to. I mean, it's hard because I have a couple different definitions, but I guess my main definition for it would have to be gaining the respect of peers around me as well as peers that don't even know me, and building a name for myself that I can keep after I'm out of the ring.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many people out there who, will do their career, they'll stop, and that's that. And like, which is great because if that's what you want, that's what you want. But I want to be part of wrestling for literally as long as I can be. So, I mean, even if it comes down to not in ring, I want to be able to be part of wrestling. So.
Right. I mean, I could picture you doing like a multitude of different things. I mean, when in-ring is done, there's so many different avenues that you can go to still be a part of it and contribute. So it's cool to have that mindset, definitely.
Absolutely.
And babe, what's the question that you wanted to ask?
Oh, I want to ask you, what's your definition of happiness?
Oh man. It's, I guess, just being content with what you do. I mean, you should always strive to be better in anything you do. But I mean, I feel like people look at being content as a point of being it's just kind of being complacent, where I think being content is just an important part of life. Like, I mean, we're all just living, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, sure, we're all going to work. We're all doing specific things to make us happy. But like at the end, we're all technically doing the same thing, and that's literally living. So I feel like being content with just being who you are and doing what you do is more important than pretty much anything. It's hard to, everyone who strives for happiness and just wants to find happiness is never going to find it, in my opinion, because if that's all you're looking for, you're not going to have that every day. You just need to be content with the goods, the ups, the downs, the everything, and just understand that's just part of life. So I feel like that's happiness to me, is just being content.
I mean, I think you could be happy and find happiness even though there's like tough situations or extremely hard situations, or even if you don't have your health, you
Right.
could still be happy, like just be happy finding it. Like, also, it's like being happy is, you also have to be extremely humble so that way you can be happy. Because if you're looking for happy like with materialistic shit, or if you want, I don't know, if you want to do things that are like not really like realistic,
Yeah.
and that's you have like this list of like what you're supposed to do in life, and you can't always meet those goals. Some people are very unhappy because of that. So you just have to like kind of just go to the flow and just be happy with the things that you have in your life. If you have your roof over your head and a beautiful family and food on the table, then I mean those should be like the most important things, and that's happiness, I think. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. You definitely got to find there's a balance. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
people who get
Of course, everything.
people who find themselves happy all the time. Like everyone will have bad days, and you just got to know that those bad days are either going to get better, or you need to work to make them better, regardless of what the situation may be. That's always just been a big thing of mine. Like, especially at the end when like those last 2 months, like I said, with the vertigo and stuff, I was like so in my head about, man, I hope that this doesn't stick. I hope this isn't something that's going to affect me long term. I wasn't sure what it was. And it comes down to like just accepting, like, regardless of what this is, I have to just do. You know what I mean? Because no matter what, it's not going to change. It's not going to change my bearing on life if I'm depressed about it. It's not going to help. It's just not going to help. So even if it's not a great situation, I found myself looking at the upside to it. Like, oh, well, I can still go do my promos at this place. I can still go here and do my character work. And that was my thought process, And it's like, it was unfortunate, but it was a good thing that it happened. And it let me get a new perspective on the importance of A, my health, and B, where I stand internally. So.
When you were going through your vertigo thing, were you able to work out and stuff too, or no?
Not really. It wasn't like I could, but like I was nervous. I was scared. Like I didn't want to jump into
Of
something like,
course.
oh, like I would always do something like I'd take a bump and be like, oh my God, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. And I'd work myself up into hyperventilating and like freaking out over it because I didn't know.
That's like PTSD.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of did.
Yeah.
And like, luckily, like I said, I've been definitely more active. I've been more into doing what I've been doing. And like, I think a lot of it was because like, this is funny to me, but a lot of people don't know. I was up to about 320 pounds. Now I'm a big boy, but 320 is still a big weight. Like I'm down to probably about like 295, 300 right around there. But like my comfort weight's probably like 260. So like I'm over there 60 pounds heavier, 80 pounds heavier than I should be. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. You know what I mean? And I think that had a little bearing on my body too and how it was doing things. And I didn't realize it.
Of course, yeah.
After. So that definitely was a big.
And you said being hydrated and drinking water didn't have anything to do with it, right? It was just like, it just happens, like regardless.
Actually, yeah. So the one night that it happened the second time, I remember where it started to affect me again. I actually brought Pedialyte to that show because I'm like, I'm going to chug a big thing of Pedialyte, make sure I'm hydrated for sure. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put on this 12-minute whatever match that I needed to do where it happened again. And by the time it was over, I didn't feel like anything. Like I'd been getting accustomed to going the 20, 25-minute matches because I was getting put into those slots a lot towards the end. And I was feeling great. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And then when that started happening, even 10-minute matches were messing with me. And I'm just like, okay, something's up. So that's where it all came down to. But yeah, it didn't turn out to be the hydration. But I think my body needed rest. Like I think it was just telling me slow down and relax. I was wrestling 3-4 times a week for about 2 years.
I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people too. They just want to push themselves and you know, like it's no stopping, because otherwise if you stop, you're gonna kind of like limit your chances of being seen and getting out there. But now this quarantine, it forced us all to stop. Even me, you know, like from wanting to like promote as many shows as I could, and now I'm kind of stepping back and thinking like, all right, quality over quantity. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, no, 100%.
And that's how it always should be, though. Quality, yeah, of course.
A lot of people, especially like when I first started wrestling, I didn't see that as like the, you know, quality over quantity, because as going into it new, and I'm 30 now. I started at 27. I've only been in for 3 years, but when I started at 27, I was like, I need quantity to get my name out there. You know what I mean? Like you gotta push and push and push and push, and like that's all you can do. And the thing is even when my name started to get noticed in other states or other places, my mentality never stopped. It was always like, no, keep going anyway. And I think that's where my body was like,
take a break. And I think also for like Chris as like a promoter and then you wrestle, it's like two different worlds. Like I totally understand why you would want to just keep going and keep going and keep going, because I mean that's all a wrestler could do, like you said, to get your name out there. Is like, even if it's probably like, I mean, I don't know, but even if it's like the shittiest show and then you just want to do it anyway just because it's like, right?
Yeah, the grind is never ending. The wrestler grind is never ending. And like any promoter that doesn't acknowledge the fact that their show is like, the wrestlers make the show. Like they're just,
of course.
But you guys are the ones going out there and risking, like literally risking your lives and your health and safety and everything, you know, for us to be able to put on that show. So we definitely, I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it's, you know, that the chances are there to get hurt, you know, just like anybody plays a sport like football or rugby, even, you know, things like that. Hockey, you know, your health is on the line, but like you love it so much that it's not even it's an afterthought, as odd as that sounds. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think of it as something that's going to affect. Either way.
The baby's talking to you.
What happened?
What happened, Crazy? I'm sorry. He's like, I cut you off, and then he cut you off, and then everyone's cutting you off. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Actually, for what it's worth, me and Chris had spoken while we were getting this all set up. I do have to go soon just because I have some things going on.
No worries. So, yeah.
It was really nice speaking to you, though, and I'm glad that we're going to speak for like extra like 10 minutes because of like when we got cut off earlier. But it was nice speaking to you, and I'm also happy that you like listened to your body when you started getting the vertigo thing, and you didn't just force yourself to keep going, because it could have just gotten worse, and then God forbid you could have reached a point that like maybe it would have gotten so bad that you wouldn't have never been able to wrestle again or something like that. So just always listen to your body and always put your health first, and don't forget about the fact that you're raising your daughter, and that you need to be there for her too, because she's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, listen, man, thank you so much.
Yes,
for
thank
joining
you
us.
so much for everything.
We really enjoyed it, and we will be obviously talking, very soon once this whole thing is over and we can get back to doing what we love.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
All right,
No,
man. Have a great one.
bye.
Awkward goodbyes.
Bye, guys. How you get out of this, big babe?